All UN Security Council members, apart from the United States, are calling on Israel to let aid into Gaza. They made a statement at the UN in New York just a short while ago.
This is the first time famine has been officially confirmed in the Middle East region. Every day, more persons are dying as a result of malnutrition, many of them children. We are alarmed by the report that famine is projected to expand to the Deir al-Balah and Khan Yunis by the end of September. At the same time, across the Gaza Strip, nearly 1.5 million people are facing emergency and crisis levels of food insecurity. At least 132,000 children are expected to suffer from acute malnutrition between now and June 2026.
Right, well, let's head over to UN headquarters in New York and join Gabriel Elizondo there. Gabriel.
Yeah, that's right. The Security Council meeting that was about 4 hours long, that you just saw a clip of that after the meeting concluded. The meeting was really focused on every country giving their statement, their national statement from their country on the situation in Gaza. Widespread condemnation of the famine that is being imposed by Israel on the Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, also calling on Israel to reverse the decision to escalate in military activity towards Gaza City. That is very clear. But there was also a lot of focus on how the famine is affecting the children of the Gaza Strip. In fact, the CEO of Save the Children, a non-governmental organization that works extensively in the Gaza Strip, briefed the Security Council, and this is a little bit of what she had to say.
Mr. President, at our child-friendly spaces, children draw what we call wishing clouds so that they can imagine a better future. In Gaza, children used to wish for school or peace or to see their friends again. Once the total siege began in March, children would increasingly tell us that they wish for food, that they wish for bread. These past few weeks, more and more children have shared that they wish to be dead.
Now, while there were strong statements in the very long Security Council meeting by individual member states, the Security Council as a whole has utterly failed to stop the genocide. In fact, things have even gotten worse, of course, with the IPC report declaring famine. As the Algerian ambassador to the UN stated at the end of the meeting, he said, in his words, it was a painful meeting. He said many member states feel helpless, that they have not been able to fulfill their mandate. And he said that many feel great sadness over this. There's real sense of frustration. The Security Council has not been able to move collectively to stop the genocide. That, of course, can be, majority of that can be contributed to the fact that the U.S. has vetoed 6 Gaza ceasefire resolutions, the most recent one coming just a few months ago.
Thanks, Gabriel. Gabriel Elizondo there, joining us from the UN headquarters in New York. Let's get to Washington. And President Donald Trump is believed to be holding a meeting at the White House on Gaza. Earlier, his special Middle East envoy, Steve Witkoff, said post-war plans for the Strip will be discussed. Let's head over to our correspondent, Alan Fisher, who's at the White House. Alan. What is this meeting, a large meeting as Donald Trump calls it, really going to be about?
This continues, Donald Trump saying that he wants to see an end to the war in Gaza. I've been speaking to officials at the White House. They said that his idea of bringing peace and prosperity to the region is well known, and he'd like to see an end to the war. We didn't get any more details on what's going on in the meeting, but our understanding is they're discussing what would happen in Gaza the day after the war. One of the things, of course, that they've got to discuss is getting aid into Gaza and how they can possibly do that. Now, you've got to remember that on Monday, Donald Trump said that he expected a conclusive end to the war in Gaza within 3 weeks. Now, it's my understanding that he was perhaps basing that on information given to him by Benjamin Netanyahu. That's certainly what one expert has suggested to me. But of course, the Israeli military have said that they intend to occupy Gaza City, and the military have said they need 4 to 5 months to do that. That would then fit in with Steve Witkoff, who said on a TV interview on Tuesday night that he expects the war to be ended by the end of the year. Now, the whole idea of what happens next is being formulated by Steve Witkoff, who's Trump's advisor in the area, but also Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, who was his former Middle East advisor in the last administration, and Tony Blair, who, of course, has a long history in the Middle East. Donald Trump, of course, is on the record as saying in February that he would like to see the whole area cleared, including the mass expulsion of Palestinians, and it turned into some sort of Trump-type resort, which he said would generate wealth and housing for many, many people.
Alan, I mean, the noise out of the White House on what's happening in Gaza has been deafening by the silence of late. Now, is there really a plan from Donald Trump about the Strip?
Well, there's nothing that you can put your hands on and say this is what happens next. And obviously, as the situation is developing, plans will change and they'll evolve. So you don't want to put something out in public and say, this is what we want, and see it change. The idea that he thinks that the war will be done in 3 weeks, it's a timescale he's used on many occasions, but simply has fallen to the side on things like tariffs and peace in Ukraine. And he, of course, just last month said that he had a plan to get more aid into Gaza at the moment because he was shocked at what he saw with the pictures of starving children. But nothing materialised from that. So there is a lot of talk, a lot of planning, but nothing that is changing the situation on the ground. Donald Trump said he'd like to see an end to the war, but he's also effectively given the Israelis permission to do what they need to do in Gaza without there being any pushback from this White House.
Alan, thank you so much. Alan Fisher there joining us from the White House.
Don't miss out. Get the full picture. Subscribe to Al Jazeera for reliable news and expert insights. Like, share, stay ahead.